In a world of over 8 billion people, where no life is without challenges, some individuals have not only faced adversity but have risen above it with strength and grace.
Welcome to Rise and Reflect, a YouTube series dedicated to showcasing the stories of resilient individuals who have turned their struggles into triumphs. Through their stories, we hope to ignite a spark within you.
As Nelson Mandela once said, "Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." This series embodies that spirit.
Join us as we explore the lives of these resilient soldiers, whose paths may not have been smooth, but who have walked them with purpose and determination.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Rise and Reflect. So with us is Andrei. So who is Andrei and where is Andrei from?
I am a system administrator. I'm a background in physics, but I've worked in IT for 10 years now, doing system administration. My hobbies are like reading, playing video games, and just reasoning.
And I think you're very well read. Like, so people, you're going to be blown away. Like literally, Andrei's brain. I'm excited about the opportunity to pick it, and I have my questions prepared. So I'm just going to dive right in. So can you share how your background in physics influences your approach to IT and software development?
Alright, so physics teaches you how to solve problems and to break down how things work. So in IT, in my day-to-day, I encounter various problems, and physics teaches me how to apply a systematic approach in order to solve problems. Right? So it's really the problem solving side of physics
that make the IT work. Nice. And what inspires you?
Alright, so my inspiration is really learning and trying to understand how things work, right? On a fundamental level, I'd like to understand how the universe works and some deeper philosophical questions like where do we come from, what's the source and origin of the universe, source of life, etc. So it's really a personal inquiry about how the world works and how everything connects together.
Okay, do you think the chicken came before the egg?
That is a very tricky philosophical question. The evolutionists will tell you that the chicken evolved before the egg. I think it's still open from a philosophical perspective. We just don't know.
I just don't know. Okay. So how do you think understanding the laws of physics can enhance problem solving in software engineering?
So in physics, there's a sub-branch in electronics, and my degree was in physics but with an emphasis in electronics. So electronics is at the heart of how computers are built, the logic circuits, etc. So an understanding of that level allows me to better craft code software that runs on the hardware, because at the heart of it, it's the electronic circuits that do the programming. So having that lower level understanding allows me to write code that's more tailored and optimized to run on those circuits.
What kind of skill set you think young people who might be aspiring to do electronics, what things they need to be good at? Math, IT?
Yes, so with regards to electronics, you have to have some background in physics. Math does come into play, and a lot of math, any science that you're doing, excepting probably biology, and biology itself has a lot of science.
To differ.
Yeah, it has a lot of math too.
Yes.
Right, because
genetics,
yes.
DNA sequencing.
Right, and decay equations.
Yeah.
So math and physics definitely further into the electronics. At the CSEC level, it's not so heavy math, it's more physics. But as you go to the advanced level, math. So mainly math and physics.
Alright, so with your broad knowledge of the world, what global trends or innovations excite you?
Alright, so artificial intelligence is the primary trend now that I think is very interesting, particularly because it has become popular, and the changes in technology over the years has made AI realizable. not true AI. True AI is something that's a technical thing, and I think we're far from that. However, artificial intelligence as a field is very old. However, the IT side of it, the type of hardware and computers that we had, could not realize some of the opportunities. So now that we have more powerful devices, that's why we're seeing an explosion. I think that AI will assist in changing how we solve problems.
Hold on. So you're saying that we're not experiencing true AI now?
No. So the aim of artificial intelligence, from a theoretical standpoint, is to develop a system which can emulate human intelligence. We don't know what quantifies our intelligence. However, we use how we reason about things as a metric to kind of gauge how software systems can do that.
Yes.
The current AI systems don't do that. If you understand how they work, they appear to do that. But if you go into the technical details, they're just really good at memorizing large data sets, searching through those data sets and finding the answers, finding relevant answers. But they require a lot of help from human beings to train them in order to filter out and search those patterns.
So these are basic level AI that is dominating the place. Then hear it. So is there a particular project that stands out as a career highlight for you?
Yes, so I recently did a project with a ministry, and it had to do with fixing one of their database systems, right? So their website is attached to database system which stores their records and information, and these systems, they handle the processing of requests. So you go on our website and you click and you submit a form, it checks the database and stuff like that. When you log into the web page, it checks the database in order to pull the profile, etc. They were having a problem where their systems were running very slow, and I was contracted to assist with it. It's a very large project, and it's the first time I was working on a project of that caliber, and I learned a lot, and it taught me how to manage such projects and how it tested my IT skills and my skills to manage time and resolve problems. So I think that is career highlight.
Nice. So when this drops, Andrei is your IT consultant. Nice. I'm really happy to hear that. I'm happy for you. I think that's, and I love the fact that you learned something by being a part of that project, being engaged. How do you keep up with the rapidly evolving fields of both IT and physics?
So with regards to that, the main thing that I do is I read a lot. So I have a lot of books. I like books as references. Particularly, I like physical copies of books, but I also have a large digital library, my Kindle libraries. I read not only physics and math and IT, but I do a lot of philosophy too. Because as I said, some of the big problems aren't really science problems. They're problems like, does God exist? What are the properties of God? Where do we come from? What's the true nature of reality? These things aren't necessarily things that we can go in a lab and test and find the answers to. So we have to reason beyond that. So I read a lot. I read scientific articles. I link with my network of IT professionals, and they discuss and consult with me. So some of my friends, especially with regards to physics, new physics, like things with the multiverse has become a very popular thing now in storytelling. You see it in a lot of Marvel movies,
yeah.
Different timelines, etc. So I'll have friends that watch these media and they'll ask me, and that's how I get exposure to learn and reinforce some of this.
Is the multiverse real?
Alright, so again, these are challenging questions. Mathematically, there is a basis for believing the possibility of this because the math says that it could. However, there isn't any scientific evidence to suggest that it exists, and even if it does exist, there are different types and it would still be very challenging to test because the universe itself is big, right? Uni means one. If there are multiple instances, multiple copies, which is what we call the multiverse, and they're so far apart, it could be the case that they're disconnected, they're isolated. So another universe could exist over here, but it's so far that we could never reach it, or signals from it could never reach us. So it could be the case that you have other universes, but we just won't be able to know this. We can't get information.
But that sounds like something that just give us a couple more years with advancing IT and the infrastructure, and we'll be able to send a signal.
All right, so I like the fact that you pose it like that because a lot of persons are of the perception that as time improves, certain questions that we have, we'll be able to tackle them better. However, when you study IT and you study philosophy and physics, you realize that there are problems which we know that we'll never be able to solve. For example, the standard view of the universe is that the universe is expanding, right? And it's not only expanding, it's accelerating, it's getting faster. So when we look into space, we are capturing light from very far places, but we're also looking at things from the past because the further away things are, it takes light some time to travel to us. So by the time the light arrives at us, the thing would have taken some time, so we're actually looking on things in the past. That's true even in our day-to-day. I'm seeing you now in the past. I'm not seeing current because it takes a little while for light to reflect off of your face, off of your body, and come to me. This time period is very, very short, but the further things are, the longer it takes. So when you look at the stars, we're not looking at the stars as they are. No, we're looking at the stars as they were billions of years ago. So as the universe expands, right, the further out you look, the faster things are moving away from us. And from the math, from the physics, it tells us that there is a certain point that light is so, the light from the objects are so far that the space is moving faster than the speed of light. You know, the speed of light is the speed of light. So we can't faster than that, we can't accelerate anything faster than that. So if there's something that's moving away from us faster than the speed of light, we'll never be able to catch up with it. So what that does is it creates what is known as a light bubble for us, where we're kind of at the center of that light bubble, and the thing that's at the edge of the light bubble is the furthest that we'll ever be able to see. We can't see anything outside of that. Why? Because those things are so far away from us that they're moving faster than the speed of light. So even if we were moving at light speed now, it's still moving so fast that we could never catch up. So we know that we're going back to the multiverse. So we know that if there are things, if there are universes, if there are worlds, if there are stars outside of our light bubble, we'll never be able to get information from them. So there are limits to things that we can do scientifically.
Okay. So, I mean, you've made reference to quite a few theories already, but we want to understand what are your favorite theories, specifically in physics, and how has it influenced the way you view technology or the universe?
So, just to give a general background, in physics there are two prevailing theories. There's quantum mechanics and general relativity. Quantum mechanics explains the world of small molecules, atoms, etc. General relativity explains the world of the large, the everyday world and the universe. They don't play well together, right? But my favorite theory is the atomic theory, which is more aligned with quantum mechanics. So the atomic theory is, I consider, the first time that humanity had a structured way to navigate or to inquire about the world, right? Because what the atomic theory taught us is that all of the different objects that we see have a common link. They're made up of similar elements, protons, neutrons, and electrons. And then from the atomic theory, the periodic table came about, and then we started to be able to explore the properties of matter, and then physics, chemistry, biology, all of them started to flourish. So for me, the atomic theory is very important, and how it plays into how I view IT and technology is that the periodic table breaks is broken down into different categories, so like metals, the semiconductors, and non-metals, right? In electronics and in IT, it's the semiconductors that are very important, silicon, and in the past germanium. So your CPU, your RAM, almost all of them uses semiconductors, silicon, right? And understanding the atomic theory teaches you how these materials are able to have a conductivity between metals and non-metals, and so they're able to act as little switches, which is what we used to build CPUs that do all of the computation and memory that stores.
You lecture?
Not yet.
Well, if there is a university administrator who is watching this right now, he's available to
Yes.
lecture, right? You need him in your faculty. So, okay, and listeners, we're actually in a hotel. We're at the Courtyard Marriott. Thank you so much for hosting us. So you might hear a little noise. I actually won't be editing the videos. The raw footage will be uploaded. So the conversation is as is. No editing no go on here. So how do you think emerging technologies such as AI and quantum computing will impact the future of software development? Do you think we'll ever get to true AI? That's an interesting question.
That is a very interesting question. I think so, and I need to expound on what that is. True AI is the belief that it is possible for us to emulate human intelligence. Now, the challenge with true AI is that we can't really define what intelligence is. We can only say, hey, intelligence is what human beings do, and use this as a metric. So we judge the intelligence of everything else based on how well they're able to reproduce or mimic what we do. So what true AI means is that we're able to write a piece of code that by itself is able to learn new things, is able to reason about the world like we would without us having to interact with it again. Now, the camp in computer science, they're split between them. A lot of the computer scientists don't believe that true AI is possible. Particularly, it's our specialties. We believe that our intelligence is something that we could never replicate in code. But I am of the view that the elements of intelligence, even though I can't give you a definition of it, and what I've seen achievable in AI and my understanding of automation, I think it's possible to emulate what we do, even if it doesn't operate exactly how we do it.
At the very basic level, we'd be able to probably do something.
Yes.
A little mimicking of the intelligence.
I would think, because all you have to do for true AI is to get something that has general knowledge and is able to use the small set of knowledge which it has, which is what we do, and then reason from that using logic to arrive at new conclusions.
So the machine itself would have to have some kind of logic.
Right.
And it's the difficulty in getting. That's the difficulty with getting the machine to have the logic. Is that it?
The difficulty is, so let me break it down by comparing what current AI does with what we're trying to achieve. What current AI does is you get a large set of information. Usually data is curated data which is trained or data which we know the answers for. So imagine you want to train an AI to pass a math test, right? You get historical records of all of the questions and the answers for that math test. What you do is you train the machine on those set of questions. Now, after the machine goes through the training phase, you give it the data and you give it a fraction of data. There's usually an 80-20 split. So 80% is used for training, 20% is used for testing. So you train it on 80%.
It's coming like the AI go school. It's like basic school and high school.
Right. Once it's trained, you give it the test data, and in order to see if it's predictions, because the training is to allow the AI to create a model that would be like its common sense. And then you test it to see how well the common sense is, to see if you need to retrain it. So if you give it the test data and it makes very bad predictions or very bad answers, you have to retrain it as well. Once it's trained, now you expose it to information which it hasn't seen before, and then that is what you use to determine how well it is. Now the issue with current AI is that it learns from its current data set, but it's limited. It cannot learn new stuff. So even if you give it math questions that are close to it, but they're novel in just slight ways, it will give you nonsense answers because it's trying to fit all of its answers into the limited training set.
You hear that, kids? Do not be using the AI or the chat GPT to help in the exams. Like, I've heard of situations where students are trying to cheat using the AI. Yeah, it's not gonna work out for you.
Yeah, you have to understand the limitations. Yeah. Now, what true AI should be is that it's not that the machine won't be able to get into that. Even us as human beings, we have finite knowledge too. We go to school and we learn a certain amount of, say, calculus. There are calculus problems that you see that you just don't know to answer. And if you attempt to answer them, you may come up with nonsense. Right? So does it mean that you're not intelligent? No, it just means that you don't know how to solve it. The difference with current AI is that they give answers which are far off. A human being, even if they don't know how to solve it, they would use the tools that they have and give the most reasonable answer. Even if it's wrong, it's within the domain of possibilities. But the AI, even small deviations from the knowledge set, they give some wild answers, and you're like, no human being
would do that. Okay, well, even though AI does that, I want to say that for business people, students, professionals, AI has been useful in a lot of ways. I would say that you can use it to write a letter, to summarize. So if you give it information, it will be able to help you to organize that information. I've heard of people who have used AI to write proposals, grant proposals, even though you have to edit it because it will give you generic answers. But there are AI tools that have been proven to be useful.
Yes, they are very useful. I think you have some.
Let us share some of them with the people who are watching. Yeah.
However, I want you to repeat the last question because we focused a little bit more about AI, but not on the emerging technologies. So can you repeat that?
Yes. So how do you think emerging technologies such as AI and quantum computing will impact the future of software development?
All right. So I think AI, just like how computers revolutionized the industrial era, I think that is what AI will assist with. It will be a tool that helps us to solve problems faster and help self-learning to rapidly accelerate. For example, I use ChatGPT a lot in order to narrow down my answers, and I know how to navigate it. So instead of doing a Google search where I'd have to read for a bunch of articles, I can ask ChatGPT, alright, I want to do a research on quantum physics, right? Give me a list of research, relevant research from the past 20 years, who published them, and what were their findings, and it just goes. If I type that in Google, I'm not going to get a curated answer that's specific. I still have to do some search. So, and in learning new skills or organizing stuff. So as I said, writing business proposals, learning how to go through processes of starting up businesses. These general knowledge, general information things, AI is very good. So I think it's a tool that we'll use to enhance our productivity. We still have to learn how to use it properly because of that danger that I told you, that you need to still prompt or give it useful information in order to help it to give you meaningful stuff. Alright? As it regards quantum computing is promising, but that is one that is, I think, it's a little bit uncertain. Why? The conditions for quantum computers are extreme. Very low temperature, very expensive material, and quantum systems are very sensitive to changes in their environment. So most quantum computers have to be super cool, close to absolute, and they have to be in clean rooms that are isolated from people, etc. Right? And you have to shield them from background radiation and stuff just for them to operate, because you're working at the tiniest level. Any single stray radiation could change the state of the system and throw off everything. So quantum computing, there's a lot of talk about it, it's a buzzword, but theoretically and academics know that production quantum computing, one, we don't know if it's possible, and it would be far off unless there's some rapid advancement in physics, in theoretical physics and stuff like that. The key to quantum computing is to see if we can find ways to correct from errors. Because as I said, the background, the effect of...
So that's what they're going to use quantum... Well, let us backtrack for the non-technical people. What's quantum computing?
Alright, so a classical computer is a computer which uses normal electrons and what is known as classical physics. Classical physics explains the everyday life, right? So for example, how things move, where things are, laws of energy, etc. Quantum computing now is on the atomic level, right? It explains the world of tiny things, and at the tiny level there are certain things which we don't see in our day-to-day life that seem weird to us that tiny atomic systems can do. For example, there is this concept of superposition, where imagine you have a coin, right? A classical coin can either be heads or tails at one, right? It can be both. In a quantum system, quantum systems are able to be in a state of superposition, where there are more than one state at the same time. So a quantum coin will be both heads and tails before you look at it. That is weird, right? Imagine you take up a coin and you're not able to say the state of the coin, or you're saying that the coin is in two states until you measure it. When you measure it, it takes the form of one or the other. But before you measure it, it's in both states. Classically, that doesn't make sense to us. A coin is either heads or tails, even if we're not looking at it. Quantum systems, it's both heads and tails until you make a measurement, right? What this allows us to do is, because quantum systems are able to be in a superposition of states, they allow us to solve problems which are very difficult and problems which you have to search for a lot of possibilities. So the application of quantum computing that I can give you is that there are certain types of problems, and I'll give you an application in IT. When you go online, what protects your computer are cryptographic algorithms. What they do is they scramble up, say you have this message. It uses a mathematical function to scramble up your message and then send it across. And then what it does, it uses a pair of keys. So I'll give you an analogy for the key. It's a public key and a private key. Public key is like a lock. So you give this lock to everybody that you want to send a message. What happens is, when Nika wants to send Andrea a message, she gives the lock and she locks it and she sends it. I have the private key. Me alone have the private key where I can open the lock. So I can give the lock to everyone in there. And they can, if they want to send me a secret message, they put the message in the box, lock it, and send it to me. Because I'm the only one that have the private key. Now, the keys and the process of scrambling the information is based on a map of prime numbers. And finding prime numbers is very hard on classical computers normally. However, quantum mechanics, there's an algorithm in quantum mechanics which shows that if we're able to build quantum computers on a practical scale, then solving, breaking those type of algorithms would be easy. You'd be able to crack almost every single website overnight if we could build a quantum computer.
This dense. I think this is very dense. So let us go back to the AI stuff. What are some AI tools out there that people can? I know ChatGPT, but there are so many others. I know that there is one you can use to edit your pictures, and you just upload the picture and it do the editing for you. There are tools for research, like you can upload data sets and it will do the trend analysis and give you graphs and tell you, basics, identify the basic trend and thematic analysis and give you that result. But what other AI tools are there?
Right, so there are a number of tools. I don't recall them by name, but the major players in AI are Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, Amazon. So ChatGPT actually fuels a lot of other tools, even tools that are used by enterprise. So ChatGPT by itself is a proprietary thing that's run by OpenAI. However, in software development, we have what is known as APIs, which are ways in which other developers outside can connect with a software, use it to solve their problem, and then provide themselves. So a lot of other AI tools use ChatGPT
That makes sense.
So as you mentioned, there are a lot of AI that you can use to do image editing, data analysis, etc.
Even your accounting, and there is one for the small business owners that I don't remember the name, but basically it manages your customers for you. So it will do the follow-ups, craft emails and send to your customers. It will constantly engage them so that they, when you to get a lead on a sale, you have to constantly engage so that them eventually buy the product. So there's an AI that can do that for you, because a lot of us, we tend to forget to do those follow-ups and we end up missing out. So AI has become very useful to people who need it. Basically anything that you can think of that you don't like to do, there's probably an AI tool that will do it for you.
True, and what is happening now is that a lot of the tech companies are integrating AI into their products.
Yes, I see. WhatsApp has AI.
Yes.
Instagram.
Right, because Microsoft has Copilot, which is essentially ChatGPT integrated into their browser. As you said, WhatsApp, I think Meta is a part of. Yes, so Facebook has integrated their artificial intelligence. So the good thing is that you no longer will have to search for these AI tools. A lot of the companies will have them built in and integrated. But video editing, photo editing, a lot of the useful software you will take input as text and it will transform it into something. So you have AI that you can write a story and say, alright, create a skit, a video skit of this, and it will translate the text into images. Right? You have AI like I think Google Lambda, and Google has a number of these tools where you can say, alright, build me an elephant with something like that, and it will go through and
and
take
put
your
together what it
description.
can. Okay. Well, we are wrapping up, and so I have one last question for Andre. If you had 1 billion USD to invest in innovations and or discoveries, what would you want to invent or discover?
Alright, so before I answer that, I'll start to give some context. 1 billion USD sounds like a lot of money, but with regards to scientific research, it's not a lot of money.
I
Right?
agree.
The Large Hadron Collider, which is the biggest particle accelerator, costs 10 billion.
10
No.
billion.
Right? And then there is another project that's going on, a nuclear fusion reactor in Europe that's called ITER. It already costs between 20 to 25 billion, and it's not finished as yet. Right? So $1 billion US is not a lot. But within that budget, if I had to research something, I would research nanomachines, right? Where nanomachines is the concept that you have tiny molecular machinery that you can utilize in medicine, right? So there are a number of cartoons and science fiction movies that investigate. I'm trying to remember.
So the nanomachines, these are the things that doctors will be using to do like the remote surgeries.
Yes,
That's going
but
to
it's
make-
much smaller.
Oh.
It's much smaller. So normal surgery, you utilize machines that we can use with our hands and stuff like that, and you have a level of automation. But nanomachines are very tiny.
So we can just swallow the machine, fix the organ, and come back out.
Exactly.
I like that.
Exactly.
Just no cutting or nothing.
No, and that's the whole idea.
Give Andre $1 billion USD, please. I
Yes,
love that.
please.
That invention is great. So if you are watching, if you're a medical doctor, if you are connected to a big investment firm, connect, no man. Like reach out, and we'll get this project going.
Right, because there are one of the challenge in modern medicine is when you have ailments that are either deep or they are molecular at scale.
Yes.
Until they develop, like for example cancer. You can have cancer for years and it's great, but it doesn't register on an MRI because the number of cells haven't metastasized or grown to a certain level that
It's
detected,
recognizable and
right?
detectable.
And then there are ailments which are inside of organs where the general MRI scan can't see so deep, right? And so it's very difficult, and doctors aren't going to cut you unless they have other information to suggest that there's something wrong. The idea of nanomachines is that you have these tiny molecular robots that you can just swallow as a pill or whatever, and then you can navigate them inside to look on the molecular level, and you can navigate them into small orifices, and then they can do the types of probing that imagery, the type of imaging equipment that we have can't see. So you'd be able to not only detect things early, but the idea is that you could use them together in groups to actually start doing surgery so that you don't have to open you up. So that is where I would put my money. There are other research areas in physics and chemistry, etc. But I think those, based upon the budget and the theoretical nature of those, they wouldn't be realizable or feasible. So this is something that I think would be feasible in our lifetime. So,
Andre, what is your advice for young people who are thinking if they need to go do humanities or they should do science and technology? What is your advice?
so my advice is that one, try to spend the time to find out what your passion is. I would never tell all students to do science. We can't all be
I would
scientists.
do science.
Right?
Nothing
Right?
else.
We can't all be scientists. The whole, my perspective is that the whole point of society is you should identify the different skill sets and then guide persons within that department. I would say to students, if you have a thirst for knowledge, if you like to understand how things work, if you like to solve problems, if you like to create things that change the world,
If you're curious.
if you're curious, then you should lean towards the science, because the sciences will provide an avenue where you can explore those ideas, invent new stuff, etc. Right? If you're more interested in like the arts or interacting with people or expressing yourself, then you can move towards the humanities.
But you can do science if you
No,
are
you
interested
can.
in interacting with people, because I mean they're
Different types of
they're different. They're scientific communicators.
right. But you must have a passion
Or yes.
for understanding how things work, for inventing and building stuff, and
Being
curious.
experimental
Right.
and all of that.
If you like tinkering, because I can remember in my days before I knew about the science and stuff,
Yeah.
how I discovered that, of course, definitely with science, I like to pull down things and understand how they work. So I used to get into a lot of trouble as a child, because I used to pull down stuff but not know how to put them back together,
Okay.
because the inquiry was about, hey, let's break this apart to see how it works, but they're putting it back together as a child, right? So as I started to grow and ask more questions and things and so forth, and I saw the different disciplines, I realized that definitely I'm leaning towards science, and it has to be a science. I didn't know science at the time, but I knew that it was science.
It makes sense why you are a scientist. I understand it now. If I never did know before, that example a while ago. And I must say that you are going to go places because you are passionate, you're very knowledgeable. Like, you just need the 1 billion USDs, right? So, thank you so much. I'm really happy that you're a part of the Jamaican soil, because we have qualified, knowledgeable people who can really transform our society, right? So thank you so much for being here, and again, stay tuned for Rise and Reflect.
Thank you for having me.